Hi, this is Dr. William King from Greater Life Training Center. In this video, I will demonstrate how to use SQL Server Express, which is free download from Microsoft, to create a database table, or to create a database and to create a table inside of that database, and then also a script to insert data into that table. And we would do this with Notepad and then transfer that information over to SQL Server Express. Alright, let's open Notepad. Okay. This is Notepad. Now, the first thing that we want to do, actually, how about we go ahead and create that in SQL Server? We wouldn't have to do this. Okay, so let's go SQL Server. Alright, the first thing we want to do is create a table, a database, I'm sorry. So I have a series of databases here. We want to create one called sample, and we want to do that in master, which is our master database. Okay, and there's master that's selected. Here's a list of our databases. Okay, make sure it's in master, and let's use the keyword create database. Now let's give our database a name. Let's call it sample. And when we execute this, it will create our database for us. Its commands executed successfully. If we refresh this, we will see our sample database is now created. There are no tables currently in this database. It's empty. If I look in these others, you will see there are tables. Okay? Alright, let's create a table inside of our sample database. And to do that, we can either create a new window or we can use the current one. Let's use the current one, but there's a key thing that you should know. If you're going to do an execution, you have to highlight the code that you want to execute. Alright, let's create our table. Create table. Now let's tell it what we want to name the table. Let's name the table sample table. Right? Now let's put some information in that table. Okay? First thing we want to do is create an ID. So let's call it ID. And let's make it an integer because this is going to automatically increment as we enter data into our table. And to get it to increment, we need to give it identity 1 to 1, starting off with 1, and we don't ever want this to be empty. Okay, so let's set it to not null. Let's create a new line, and let's set the next field to be, let's say name. We're going to put a person's name in there, and let's make it a var char character, and let's set it to 75 characters at the max. Okay, and if you want to, you can put in there that it can be a null value, but we're going to move on. And so you can see the simplicity of creating a table. We're not going to add all the additional code into our table, so you can get an idea of how easy it is to create a table. Okay, so let's do a date. Okay, let's give it a value of date. Of date time. Okay, and that should end it right there. So this is not null, and this ends here. We don't need a comma here. We don't need a comma here. Let's bring this up, and let's go ahead and execute this. We have to highlight it, otherwise you'll rerun the whole entire script. And the first thing that we need to do, if you notice here, it's going to create it in our master. We don't want it there. We want it in our sample. So let's find our sample, scroll down, there's our sample. And let's execute it in our sample. Oh, there's a problem at 75. Guess what the problem is? Fat fingers. Okay, now let's execute it. Remember, you got to highlight it. Execute. It's completed successfully. If I refresh this, look under my table, and there's our table. Now, if I click that and look under our columns, we should see our columns we just created. Okay, and you see how it added null there automatically. Nulls are allowed. Okay, let's put some data into it. What we want to do is insert, sometimes they look like, into our, and what database we want to insert it into? Our sample table. That's the table we want to insert it into. And what do we want to insert? Well, let's insert something in our name and our date. And the values that we want to put in there, I'm going to show you a trick in a minute. Comma, because we want one for our name and one for our date. Alright, let's put John Doe, and our date 3/16/2009. Remember, highlight. This should be under sample. Execute. Syntax near value. Did I mess up again? I think I did. And my error is here under name. Is looking at name as a keyword. So let's do this just to be on the safe side. I'm glad that error happened. And let's highlight this again. Execute. Ha 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 ha. Oh boy, I tell you, it's easy to overlook things. Execute. Okay, now we're looking good. So if I right click on this and I open the table up, we should see some data in there. There we are. And it's that simple to create a database and tables and insert values. I hope you enjoyed that. Go ahead and rate this and subscribe to my videos.